FIDE.email, you don't need to compromise faith to participate in the modern world. Instead of pushing ads and invasive practices that conflict with Catholic values, we built FIDE to reclaim technology for Christendom. When you use FIDE.email, you declare your commitment to technology that defends Christian tradition. Join FIDE.email today and use technology to advance Christendom.
Pope Francis protected an evil priest, a priest who used his position of influence, his deep connections to put up some very odd art in parishes and cathedrals and basilicas around the world. He used the influence and the wealth he gained from that and his control of an order of nuns to then use the nuns as his, shall we say, plaything. He played mind games with them. He used his influence as a priest and his faculties to absolve sins and his charisma to manipulate nuns into violating their vows. Their chastity and celibacy vows had been violated by this priest. Well, they violated them under the coercion of a priest. Many women in those religious orders not only left religious life as a consequence, they left the Catholic Church as a consequence. This priest was doing this from the 1980s until just a few years ago. He was finally outed to the media, and he was expelled from the Jesuit order because the Jesuits, for once, took something like this very, very seriously. He was deemed to have been automatically excommunicated for his use of the confessional to absolve the sins of those women who he had coerced into sin. He covered up his sins and their involvement in them with his own faculties as a priest, earning himself automatic excommunication. That automatic excommunication was lifted by Pope Francis. Then he was restored to active ministry, where he continued to make his art and do the rest. Cathedrals and basilicas and parishes around the world, including the Knights of Columbus's main hall in the United States, have largely refused to take down his artwork. Some have. The Shrine at Lourdes is in the process of removing his artwork. He was being protected by Pope Francis. This was a cause of great scandal among the faithful. There were faithful horrified, reduced to tears at the implications of this. And then Pope Francis passed away. Not long after it was announced that a formal canonical investigation was nearing its conclusion. We didn't know what the conclusion of it was going to be. But at all appearances, he was going to be protected. And then, again, Pope Francis passed away. We now have word that Father Rupnik has fled Rome. He has fled Europe. Perhaps he's afraid of what the new Pope will do. Go to Gloria TV for this story. Headline, Rupnik lost his protector. Flight to Brazil. You'll see there a picture of Rupnik and Pope Francis meeting together. The details. The evil man Marco Rupnik, a former Jesuit, has disappeared and fled to Brazil. Father Benedict Keeley, an English priest to the Ordinariate, mentioned this to Damian Thompson on spectator.co.uk. Rupnik no longer has a friend in the Vatican, Father Keeley added. Thompson sharpens the information and links it to the death of Francis. He has lost his protector. In another aside about Francis, Father Keeley mentioned that the atmosphere in the Vatican has changed. Two different people who work in the Vatican said this week, "We are free. The atmosphere in Francis's Vatican has been oppressive." Thompson added that the new pope doesn't enjoy hurting people, unlike Francis. End quote. Now, all of that about the atmosphere in Rome itself is interesting. I mean, it's something we've heard a great deal about in the last few days since, and really the past few weeks since Pope Francis passed away, that there has been a general shift in the tone and atmosphere in Vatican City, and that is an entirely different subject. But what are the implications of this? That Marco Rupnik, the man who was responsible for some of these really odd pieces of artwork, put a few of them up on screen here for you to see, is gone. Fled Rome to Brazil. And will the Brazilians protect him? Will they give him shelter? You have to ask a question like this because at the end of the day, men like Father Rupnik were a great cause of harm to the Catholic Church, to the mystical body of Christ. The credibility of the church was undermined by him and by Francis's protection of him. Rupnik made international news for the things he did. And you have to remember, we live in the post-2005 environment where no longer are we in an environment where people will just trust the church on a lot of things. Those wounds from Boston reports about evil priests doing unspeakable things to altar servers, men who are just a couple of years away from entering seminary, typically, people will not forgive. They have not forgotten. It will take a very, very, very long time for the church to recover from this. And so when you get a story like Marco Rupnik, all it does is further inflame those wounds, reopens them, the ones that were beginning to heal, the very early stages of healing. And this isn't the only person like this that Francis had protected. Bishop Zonchetta was a bishop from South America who led to Rome, was given a special job in Rome by Francis right at the time when the secular authorities were going to take him into custody. He eventually went back to South America to face the music. Francis gave him shelter. There's a whole lot of men like that who are in the Roman Curia. We need to be watching for who these men are and when they leave and why they leave Rome, because Rupnik might be just the first. Probably won't be the last. Maybe, just maybe, Rupnik is going to settle in Brazil, think he's fine, and the local authorities will send him back to Rome. Or maybe the diocese, working with the local authorities, will send the man back to Rome to face the music, because just maybe the canonical trial of Marco Rupnik is about to begin, and it'll be an actual, real trial now that his protector is gone. What Rupnik did was unspeakable. I cannot even begin to describe on YouTube what he did and how he did it. And not just because of the rules of this place, but because I can't bring myself to verbalize them. It's always shocking when you read an article about what he did and they go into the most graphic details. We're talking if someone made a video of what he did, it would be on one of those websites that your Covenant Eyes blocker should be blocking. Okay? To give you an idea of how bad the things he did were. Utterly blasphemous and sacrilegious things he did. And he was protected. And now maybe, just maybe, he will face the music. Curious what you think of this. Are you surprised at all that he disappeared? What the consequences for Rupnik were was an open question that many of us had. Those of us who, despite the joy of having a new Holy Father and the general atmosphere of oppression being lifted, we still had questions about Rupnik, what was going to happen, and now we have a better idea. I'm curious what you think about this in the comments. Please hit like and subscribe if you haven't. Certainly helps. Share this on social media. That helps a lot too. Pray for the soul of Marco Rupnik. He desperately needs your prayers. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.